At exactly 1 a.m., my phone vibrated. It was a message from my son, Ethan. "Dad, we need distance from you. Please stop contacting us." I stared at those words for almost a minute. Then I heard my daughter-in-law moving suitcases downstairs. She had decided to leave my house that night. I could have argued. I could have begged. Instead, I typed only one sentence. "Of course, I'll respect your decision. But before you leave, I'm canceling every payment I make for this house." There was a long silence. Then my son called. His voice was suddenly different. "Dad, what exactly do you mean?" I looked around the mansion I had spent 25 years paying for, and calmly replied, "You should probably check whose name is actually on the deed. My name is Robert Hale. For years, I believed that family meant standing beside your children no matter what happened. When my wife passed away, my son Ethan became the most important person in my life. I helped him through college. I helped him start his business, and when he married Claire, I welcomed her as my own daughter. A few years later, I bought a large house outside the city. It wasn't meant to impress anyone. I simply wanted enough space for family gatherings, grandchildren, and eventually a peaceful retirement. Ethan and Claire struggled financially after their first child was born, so I made a decision. I told them they could live in the house with me. I paid the mortgage. I paid the property taxes. I covered the insurance. I even paid several of their household expenses. I never kept a list. I never asked them to repay me, because I thought I was helping my family. But slowly, things changed. Claire started telling Ethan that I was interfering in their lives. Then family dinners became uncomfortable. My son stopped visiting me unless he needed something. And eventually, Claire began referring to the mansion as our house. I didn't correct her. I didn't want to fight. Then one evening, I overheard something that changed everything. Claire was talking to Ethan in the kitchen. She said, "Your father needs to understand that this is our home now." Ethan answered, "I know. I'm working on it." I walked away without saying anything. The next few weeks became even colder. My son stopped answering my calls. My grandchildren were suddenly too busy to visit. And then came the message at 1 a.m. "We need distance from you. Please stop contacting us." I read it again. Then I heard a suitcase rolling across the floor. Claire was packing. I walked downstairs and asked calmly, "Are you leaving?" She didn't look at me. "Yes. Ethan and I have decided we need our own life." I nodded. "Then I respect your decision." She looked surprised. I continued, "I'm also going to respect it financially." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means the monthly payments I make for this house will stop." Her expression changed immediately. "You can't do that." I almost smiled. "Why not?" "Because this is our home." I looked directly at her. "No, it's my home." She immediately called Ethan. Within seconds, my son was shouting through the phone, "Dad, what are you doing?" I answered quietly, "Nothing. I'm simply stopping the financial support you asked me to stop giving you." "But we live here." "I know, and you can't just throw us out." "I never said I would." That made him silent. Then I said, "You can stay here if you follow the agreement we signed when I let you move in." There was another silence. "What agreement?" I walked into my study and opened an old folder. Inside was the original property document. The mansion was entirely in my name. Ethan had no ownership stake. Neither did Claire. I had never hidden that fact. They had simply stopped asking. But there was one more document. A legal agreement stating that if I ever decided to sell the property, they would have to move out within 30 days. I wasn't interested in destroying my son's life. I wasn't looking for revenge. I simply wanted my boundaries respected. The following morning, Ethan came home. For the first time in months, he sat across from me and didn't look angry. He looked embarrassed. "Dad," he said, "I thought you were trying to control us." I replied, "I was trying to help you, but helping someone doesn't mean allowing them to disrespect you." He lowered his head. Then he admitted something I'd never expected. Claire had convinced him that I was eventually going to give them the mansion anyway. She had been planning their future around an inheritance that didn't legally belong to them. That was why my decision had frightened them. Not because they were losing a home, because they were losing something they had already started treating as theirs. I didn't throw them out. Instead, I gave Ethan 60 days to find another place. I also offered to help him find work outside the business I had been funding. But this time, there was one condition. He had to stand on his own. 2 months later, Ethan moved into a modest house with his family. Claire didn't speak to me for several months, but Ethan slowly started visiting. One afternoon, he sat beside me in the backyard. "Dad," he said, "I finally understand." I looked at him. "Understand what?" "That you weren't trying to keep us from having a life. You were trying to make sure I could build one without depending on you forever." I smiled. I never wanted your money back, Ethan. He looked at me. I just wanted my son back. He hugged me, and for the first time in years, I felt like I had him back. The mansion stayed in my name, but the most valuable thing I owned wasn't the house. It was the lesson that came from it. Sometimes loving your family means helping them, and sometimes loving them means finally saying no. I didn't win because I kept the mansion. I won because I finally understood something I should have learned years earlier. A house can be inherited. Money can be replaced. But once respect disappears from a family, no amount of wealth can buy it back. And that night, when my son told me to stay away, I didn't lose my family. I finally stopped losing myself.